Two, and one. Hello again, everyone. We are welcome to one more episode of Dojo Live, connecting tech experts like you. So, well, today we have
Welcome
a
to
special
one more
guest,
episode of
Rich
DojoLIVE.
Sheridan. He's the CEO and chief storyteller. You're going to tell us what that is.
Well, today we have a
And Menlo Innovations and author of
episode
Joy
DojoLIVE.
Incorporated. Welcome, Rich, to the show.
CEO and chief
Carol,
storyteller.
there's a
You're going to tell us what that is. Well,
Some
today
type
we
of
have a Menlo Innovations and author of Joy.
Okay. Let's do a little parenthesis. I think it's worth it because just to make sure that we get clear. We have echo.
Menlo Innovations and author of Joy.
So someone must do something.
Parenthesis. I think it's worth it because just to make sure that we get we have echo. Menlo Innovations and author of
Kim, did you check your?
something parenthesis. I think it's worth it because just to make sure that we get we have echo. Menlo Innovations.
This is weird. I mean, you guys are all listening to hearing what I'm hearing.
Oh yeah, we're hearing what you're hearing.
Yeah. So it's kind of okay. Someone must turn their audio off for some reason. So because it's not here, definitely. I just checked.
It's kind of okay. Someone must turn their audio.
Okay.
off for some reason.
Let's see if I can get this straightened out. Sorry, folks, for the glitch. You know how technology is a little bit on the unpredictable side, but let's see if I can get this straightened out. Sorry, folks, for the glitch. You know how technology is a little bit on the unpredictable side. Nope.
But let's see if I
Okay, let's see.
straighten out.
Uh-oh.
Oh, okay. It went away.
All right.
Someone did something just right.
I'm sorry, I lost my composure there. The looks on Richard's face.
I'm like, what is
What in the world is going on?
I'm laughing so hard that I'm actually crying. This is good. We're talking about joy, and these are joyful
That's
tears.
right, exactly.
Yeah, let's just keep it on the bright side. We just experienced the glitch.
That's right. Yeah.
We don't really know where it came from,
The
but
infamous glitch.
And we're glad it went away.
okay. Well, okay, let's reconnect. So we're having Rich Sheridan as a guest. Welcome, Rich, to today's show after our little glitch. And he's the CEO and chief storyteller at Menlo Innovations and author of the book Joy Incorporated. And we also have Matt Perez, who's in San Jose, California offices, and Kim Lantis, and from our headquarters in Hermosillo. And I'm Carlos Ponce, broadcasting live from Mexico City offices up near South. Okay. Well, Rich, welcome to their show, and why don't we just get this started? And normally what I do is very simple. I simply ask a first question. The first question is, when I ask about, okay, let's choose a topic for the talk, name for it. I mean, it was something that's very not intriguing because I think that we kind of breathed the same set of ideas here, but still, build a workplace people love. I mean, we already love this place, but just add joy.
Yes.
Okay. So how do we do that? I mean, that sounds like quite a recipe for a great workplace. So tell us about it, Rich, if I may, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Great to be here. I always want to apologize on behalf of our entire industry when glitches like that happen because software tends to torture us, and I think we were being tortured by software in some way or another. So yeah, when we talk about joy here at Menlo, the first thing we think about is who do we serve and what type of delight are we trying to create for the people we serve. And so for us, our primary focus is on delighting the end users of the software that our team is trying to serve. So we're a software design and development firm. That's what we do for a living. We create software for other businesses. They come to us with ideas in their heads and they want our team to form around their project and deliver software to the world. And our focus of attention, the joy for us, comes from one day delivering great working software to those people and delighting them with the work that happened in this room. So not just satisfying the needs of the requirements document or anything like that, but literally having people say, I love this software that you created. Now, in order to do that, we had to create a different approach. We had to create a different kind of culture. But everything in our culture is focused first and foremost on creating that kind of joy in the world. Now, we don't believe for a second you could create joy in the world without also having joy in the room. And so there's a lot of things we do here, and I'm sure we'll explore them in our hour together, where there's paradoxical things we do here. There's strange things we do. There's things we don't do at all. There's things we don't have. But everything we choose, whether to have or to not have, to do or to not do, is laser beam focused on creating that kind of joy in the world.
Cool, excellent. I mean, I'm sorry, did I interrupt you, Kim? You were going to say
No.
something? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Absolutely, Rich, and I appreciate your insight. And there's something else that I definitely need to ask you is, I based on your background, it goes back from many years. You mentioned you started to as a programmer back in 1971.
Yes.
So I think that you come from a time in software development and in the technology world that really joy and happiness and these concepts were really not as relevant as they are today. So my question to you, my first question would be, what has changed? How did we get here? How did we find out that we truly need to seek or to pursue joy in order to be complete, in the workplace? What happened in 40 years? What has happened? What has evolved?
Well, I think there are certainly timeless things about human organizations where I think this is intrinsic to when we form communities, nations, companies, teams, that sort of thing. But I think what's happened in the last 40 years is the complexity factor has gone up by orders of magnitude. I mean, we have this interesting little machine going on in our industry called Moore's Law. So every year or two, the processor speeds get twice as fast. The amount of memory we can have in our computer doubles or quadruples. The screens and so on. I mean, we carry around these little devices now in our pockets that are as powerful as all computers that existed on planet Earth in 1971 combined. And so what's interesting is, while we're all delighting in the fact that we get to carry these things around with us, we underestimate what is required now by human teams to make them work. We now need to form teams to do these things, because in the past, individual heroes used to be able to pull things off, but we've branched past that. So I think the real focus of attention now, because of the complex world we live in, is how do we get big human teams to work together effectively, where in the past, individual heroes could do things. Bill Gates and Paul Allen wrote the first operating system for a PC in about 3 months, 2 guys. Last time I have statistics for, Microsoft assembled 10,000 people for 5 years. When you start doing things at that scale, you need a different approach. You need to think about your culture differently. You need to think about your processes differently, because people will lose track of what the goal is. People will lose track of what their purpose is. And I think that's a lot of what we've ended up with today.
So with you at Menlo, I like that you need to think about your processes differently. What was your aha moment? When did you realize this isn't working, or this is where it's going, this has to change, and this is how we're going to change it?
I will tell you, it's a very personal story for me. After I graduated from the University of Michigan with a couple of degrees in computer science and computer engineering around about 1982, I started this pretty wonderful career climb. I went from programmer in 1982 to vice president in 1997. So the way the world measures success, I absolutely had it. The problem was, around about my mid-30s, I noticed something. This was my first sort of aha moment. I found out I was taking the longest possible drives to work. I was going down these lonely country roads past farms and church steeples, and I was driving past work, and and suddenly it dawned on me, like, Rich, what are you doing? Well, why don't you want to be at work anymore? You've got this great job, you know, the people there love you, they're promoting you, they're giving you greater responsibilities. Why don't you want to be there anymore? And I started like analyzing my days, and I realized that not only I was taking long drives to work, but I was leaving as early as I could. I was taking longer lunches. I was often turning my monitor away from the door so I could play a game every now and then. And it suddenly dawned on me, for me personally, that I had become what we now refer to as one of the disengaged. And I was one of the leaders. And it scared me, because I thought, well, you're not going to pull this off for the next 30 years. You know, and my wife started noticing it. She'd come home, she's like, you don't look happy. And I'm like, I'm not happy. And then she asked me the more challenging question, what are you going to do about it? And quite frankly, I didn't know. And so,
you know, they say behind every great man is a great woman.
Oh yeah, well, then I will tell you, I am destined for ultimate greatness, because the woman behind me is awesome. And you know, and she saw it in me. She knew that I had lost it. You know, and really the thing that frightened me about this time in my life was I felt my personal flame was going out. That little heart flame of what you do as a profession. And that scared me, because I thought, Richard, you're 35 years old. What are you going to do? You've got 3 daughters, you've got a house, you've got a wife, you've got a couple of cars, and this is what you know how to do. And suddenly it was literally being taken away from me while I was sitting there watching it happen. And that scared me so much that I said, oh no, that's not gonna be me. That's not gonna happen. And I dug my way out. I am by nature an optimist, and I was in a room full of manure, and I was going to keep digging till I found the pony.
Oh.
That's a good way to put it.
Yep.
So what did that dig look like? What was that process? Lay it out for us, for those who have that aha moment.
So after that, I just became this voracious consumer of books. Not books on technology, books on how to organize human teams. Books like Peter Senge's book, The Fifth Discipline, Tom Peters' books, In Search of Excellence, and others. Peter Drucker's books on management. All of these books were telling me there was a better way of doing things than I was doing them. There's a better way of doing things than was customary. And it wasn't until around 1999 where I literally had a click moment where everything just snapped into place. And it was when I read Kent Beck's book called Extreme Programming Explained. Mm-hmm. And I saw a video on an industrial design firm in California called IDEO. And it was like, oh, gal, from, you know, the previous 10 years had perfectly prepared me for that moment where suddenly everything became clear. I knew exactly where I was going. I knew just what I was going to do. And at that point, I was a VP, so I had sort of a perch to do it from. I could affect big change within the team I was leading, and they didn't know what hit them. They had no idea, man. They freaked out. They told me blood, mayhem, murder, don't do it. And they had no idea how to stop me, because I had been in that crucible of pain for a decade now. And when I saw the way out, I just started running towards change. And that was 17 years ago. I haven't stopped since. And I will tell you, I am delighted to report for the last 17 years that the joy is back for me. Now, it's back for a lot of other people than just me, but I will tell you, there is a component of this journey that is personally very selfish. I wanted to build the place I wanted to go to every day. I didn't want to be taking long drives to work. I didn't want to hate my job. I didn't want to go tell my kids going to another profession. I wanted to be an inspirational parent because of my personal energy, and I wanted this for me. And I can tell you now, my kids are convinced I will never retire. They believe they will drag a smiling lifeless 97-year-old man out of Menlo, 40 years from now. And, and I like that thought. I like the fact that they look at me and say, Dad, why would you ever retire? You're having way too much fun doing what you're doing.
And for any skeptics out there, does that really work? What about the numbers? What about the growth? How has this impacted Menlo?
Yep. We are we are self-funded. We have been profitable every year of our existence. We wrote a check in on day one. We've never had to do that again. So I think entrepreneurially, we are as in much a master of our destiny place as anybody can ever be. Obviously we're subject to market forces and that sort of thing. We have tripled our office 3 times in our history in terms of the physical size of the office. We've been on Inc. magazine's 500 or 5,500 or 5,000 fastest growing companies 6 times. We've gotten lots of awards for our culture, but more than anything, I can quote the numbers. We had our best year ever last year, highest revenues, highest profits, all that sort of thing. We rang every business bell you can ring. But quite frankly, that to us is secondary to seeing the results we're producing for the world. Seeing the people who come back to us and say, what we want to hear more than anything else is people come back saying, I love the software you created for us. You made my life better because of the work you did.
Give us some examples.
Sure.
Of those life-changing software.
Yeah, we one project we worked on was with a startup company that wanted to create a new flow cytometer. You might ask, what the heck is a flow cytometer? It's the same question we asked when they came to us.
Yes, I might.
Yep. And it's a device that counts cells in fluid. In fact, if I could see a Menlonian behind me, I could have him bring one over. Let's see. If you see somebody walking behind me,
it's kind of hard here, 24,000 square.
Yeah. Well, there we go.
Critter.
Hey, Michelle. Hey, Michelle. Can you wheel a flow cytometer over here for me? Can you wheel a flow cytometer over here for me? Yeah, thanks. So you'll be able to see one. Carlos, you said this is one of those, we're not going to show PowerPoints, we're going to show tangible things kind of presentation.
Exactly, yeah. That's what I call props.
Props. Yep, we're going to bring a prop in. So
props for the props.
Cool.
Yeah, that's right. You'll see an Accurate flow cytometer. The device is a cell counter. It literally counts cells one at a time, 10,000 a second, fires lasers at the cells, capture the scatter that goes off of them. It's used for cancer research, AIDS research, immunology research. It's being used by scientists who are trying to cure diseases like leukemia, lymphomas, AIDS, that sort of thing.
That's crazy because I almost had this slip of the tongue when I was like, tell us about these and I was going to say life-saving softwares, and I had to stop myself and say life-changing.
Yep. No, this is a life-saving device. And in the last 5 years, here's Michelle bringing one in right now. Thank you so much, Michelle. By the way, this is Michelle.
Hi. Hi, Michelle.
Michelle has the coolest title here ever, and she's one of the coolest examples of a high-tech anthropologist here at Menlo. Yeah, you can just slide it right in here. Thanks, Michelle. And so we can talk about what a high-tech anthropologist is in a second, but I'll just show you the device here. Thanks so much. So this is a flow cytometer. This is a device originally used by researchers. It's got we got a couple of books on it. I'll take those off right now. Books on Edison, of all things. So here's the insides. Kind of an interesting little device. Not a lot to it, but very, very complex piece of mechanical engineering. You take one of these 96 well plates here, put cancer cells in it, put it on the robotic arm down here. The cells are pushed through single file line, 10,000 cells a second through this little imaging station here. Lasers fire, light scatter is captured, 180,000 measurements a second coming out of the device. And the scientists are trying to figure out, is the drug compound we're testing doing what we're hoping it's going to do? Doing the good things we're hoping for and not doing bad things we're not hoping for. Now this device is being used to monitor the treatment of people who have those diseases. So it's literally holding the lives of people in its hands now. We worked on this for 3.5 years as a software project, delivered it to the world with our customer. Within 3 years, they'd captured 30% of the worldwide market in flow cytometry. And the people who use it every day would seek us out. We're not well advertised because we're building it for our customer, but they found out we're the team that built the software, and they seek us out, and they literally write these passionate emails about how much better their lives are because of the research they're trying to do. The instrumentation used to get in the way because it was so hard to use, and we made this so easy to use, designed for them via people like Michelle, our high-tech anthropology team, making sure that this will actually work for the people it's intended to be used for.
I love that. And actually, beyond bringing joy, the theme of our topic, you actually taught me something today, because I think it's so easy to fall into the mindset of like software is about video games and cell phones and I don't know, booking an airplane. But there's so much more to it. And call me silly, but it never really dawned on me, even like the medical field. It's so necessary. It's very amazing. So I think there's software engineering for everyone. Any passion, any idea, anything you're interested in, you can.
Yep. And it's, and I'll be honest, that's what got me into this. That's what got my heart excited about software way back in 1971. Because for some reason, even as a 13-year-old kid, I could see the future. I thought, man, this is just going to be the coolest profession ever, because there's so many different directions you can take it. Literally, I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of weird to see it, but here's a project we're working on. You can kind of see it back there. It's actually a simulation of golf. It's a golf simulator. And we're working on that project. So in addition to cancer-saving devices, we're going to bring joy to people who are trying to improve their golf game, of all things. So, the different kinds of joy in the world, both pleasure and serious.
I love that. What's the most fun project you've worked on?
Yeah, I think for me, the flow cytometer project is fun only because it was incredibly hard work. Big team, worked for a long time. It was in the cutting our teeth days, of the early days of Menlo. We've actually been working with this company in one way, shape, form, or another for 10 years. We're only 15 years old. And so it's not a 10-year project to get done. It was only 3.5 years to get done. But when you have a good product and you ship it to the world says, hey, we wanted to do more. We wanted to do different things. We want to move into another market. So they've continually come back to us over a 10-year period to continually bring it into, into different markets, do different things and that sort of thing. And, when you're 15 years old and you work on a project for 10 of those 15 years, you get a chance to see over a long arc, did your idea, this idea of this culture and this process that feeds the culture, the approach we take, does it actually work? And so for me, this is incredibly satisfying that we helped bring this product to market and that it's being used the entire time, every day, all over the planet. It's literally on 7 continents, including Antarctica. And we know it's being used every single day. We know it's continuing to be sold because we actually have a royalty agreement. Every time one of these gets sold, we essentially get a check, or for every one that gets sold, we get a royalty from it, as well as the original work we did. So we see how many they're selling. We can tell that this is still 10 years in, still selling really well, and that's again, that's joy for us that actually happened.
I love that. Like Nearsoft, one of our values is long-term relationships, and so not only between us as a company with our clients, but also amongst each other as the Nearsoft family. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the Menlo family. What is it that you do different? What makes you have joy at work?
Oh goodness! So let me tell you that you don't realize you're using code words here at Menlo. So you say family, right? You said life-saving earlier by mistake. So one of the interesting things we do at Menlo that is born out of one of the most common phrases you will hear here every day is let's run the experiment, okay? So that's how we feed our culture. That's how we keep trying new things. Let's run the experiment. So 10 years ago, literally almost to the day, Tracy, was sitting right nearby here just a few minutes ago. I'm going to close the doors here because we'll keep the noise of Menlo out from all of this. Tracy had little Maggie, her second child. She took a few months of maternity leave off, she was ready to come back to work. And I hope you guys aren't hearing that. I'm getting. Yeah, you're not hearing a dinging sound, are you?
Very, very softly.
Okay. So what I'm gonna, well, okay. I don't know if I can turn that off or not.
Don't worry about it.
Okay, I think that'll end now. She was ready to come back to work, but the daycare options that they wanted weren't available at the moment because the daycare they wanted to use was full. And in that moment, I looked at her and I said, well, bring her into work. And she said, what do you mean? I said, bring Maggie into work. She said, all day? I said, sure. And she said, every day? I said, why not? And she looked around this big open room, you know, and she said, where will I put her? I said, she's not going anywhere. She's 3 months old. Bring her in with, you know, just set her in a bassinet on the floor, wherever you're working. And she says, what if you make a fuss? I said, it's like a noisy restaurant here. You'll never hear it. She said, come on, Rich. You know what a baby can, you know, you raise 3 daughters. You know what kind of fuss you can make. I said, Tracy, you're the mom. I trust you. You do the right thing. We'll work it out together. Let's run the experiment. Now, that was Maggie 10 years ago. Today, Amos was in. Amos is Menlo baby number 16 in the last 10 years. Now, the babies come in all day, every day, as often as the parent wants. We've had dads bring their babies in. We've had mom bring their babies in. They come in all day, every day for several months, and they are part of the Menlo family. And I will tell you that when you run experiments that include small children, you should expect the unexpected. And so when the babies fussed, and of course they did, if it wasn't for feeding or diaper change, the team would rescue the child. The team would race and say, no, it's my turn to hold the baby. And so the team raised these children right in the room. They would just hold them. When you do pair programming, one of the pair can hold the baby while the other one's typing and then just swap it back and forth. Happens all the time here. Then we found out that when we have this crazy process where our customers visit with us once a week, because we want to keep them in close contact with the work we're doing on behalf of them. And so the customers started coming and seeing the babies. We found out our customers behave better when you bring babies to meetings. And just they're like, oh, you guys are awesome. You know, you got these little kids here. This is great. They never swear at us when the baby's there. They never get upset with us. And so they just behave better. And so that's one of many crazy things we do here. And I'd be happy to talk about more. There's lots of things we do that I think help reinforce that kind of value for our team.
I have to say, I'm impressed. And this is one of those things that is not the norm, but it should be the norm.
Right.
Is that someone as high up as you are in the company knows everybody's name. You know the names of their child. You know what number the baby is in line. And it's impressive. And the sad thing is, I think that shouldn't be impressive. Right. I think ideally that's the way it should be no matter where you go. But it really hit home for me, the idea of a family. And so
yep,
that's awesome.
Well, and I will tell you what's weird is because, you know, I mean, I'm probably not telling you anything new, that often women in a professional environment will try and hide the fact that they're pregnant as long as possible, right? They don't want to share that with their bosses or their company. They're going to keep it a secret if they can. Obviously, there will be a point where that secret is going to be revealed. But what's odd here at Menlo is I am often one of the first people to find out, because they know I love the kids. I love when they bring them in. And so I'll have, you know, women on the team, they'll come up and go, hey, Rich, there's another little Menlonian on the way. And I'm like, awesome, you know, when are you due? And all that kind of stuff. So I am often one of the, you know, I'm probably like the third person to find out here at Menlo, not necessarily the first.
Excuse me, Rich, Matt, Kim, I'd like to pause for a few seconds because two things. I'd like to remind the audience that you can submit your questions by Twitter right here. You can see this is handled DojoLIVE. Just simply send us your questions and I'll read them back to Rich. And also, Rich, we have a question from Fanny, one of my teammates here at Nearsoft. And actually, she happens to be around. So, Fanny, why don't you come over here and ask yourself? Here it is. Okay, come on over. Come on over. And okay, I'm just going to pass on the headset to her, okay?
Perfect.
Here, this is it.
Hi there.
Hey there.
So I would like to know, how do you obtain or work with the engagement of your collaborators? For example, when you have to change something in the company or something like that, how can you improve their participation for those changes?
You mean the people who work here?
Yes.
Yeah. So what's interesting here is this phrase about Menlo of "let's run the experiment." It often doesn't come from me. I mean, almost never comes from me. It's always the team saying, "Let's run the experiment." And if I picked up my computer and just went out there and said, "Hey Menlo, how many experiments are going on right now?" You'd probably see 6 hands go up in the room, because there's 6 experiments going on at the same time, and we could walk over and ask them, what are you guys doing? What things are you trying? And experiments, some come and go. They live and die in a few hours or a few days, and some of them live and then die and then come back to life in a different form if we think the idea was important but the implementation wasn't. So it's very much a culture of experimentation, and we just embrace that. The biggest sign, and there's 2 really big important signs in our room that I think increase that participation by people here. Number 1 sign is make mistakes faster, and that idea is we would prefer to never make mistakes. That'd be neat, but we're human. Not making mistakes will not occur this side of heaven, so we know we're going to make mistakes. So if we embrace that concept and tell our team, so let's make them quickly. Let's fail fast. Let's get to that point where we tried something and it didn't work, and then adjust. And so that's a really big sign, and it might often, you can almost see that sign. It's plastered not on that pillar, but the farther one. Your eyes aren't quite good enough to see that one, but it says it right on the pillar there. And then the second sign, which I think is maybe even more important to our cultural values, is it says it's okay to say, "I don't know."
Okay.
And that's really important for our team to say. Don't try and be the person who pretends to know something you don't. If you don't know, just say it. And hopefully there's team members who will help you.
Okay, so that sounds good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Great meeting you.
Yes, that was Fanny. For all of you, that she's office part of people development, actually.
Nice.
At the Mexico City office. So I think that's why, to help her impact there, I think you did very well. I like that a lot. So what I picked up on that is the idea of autonomy and transparency.
Yeah, we have one of those big, wide open office environments here. You know, the kind Fast Company magazine says is an idea born in the mind of Satan in the deepest caverns of hell.
We don't know anything. We don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I'm sure you don't. That's why we're hanging out together, right? And you know, and all these articles come out and say these big open office environments don't work. They've got books that, you know, have the data from psychologists that say this can't work. And then people send those to me and they say, "Rich, why does it work at Menlo? It doesn't seem to work anywhere else." And I say, it's because we didn't build an open and collaborative workspace. We built an open and collaborative culture. Our workspace is a reflection of our cultural values. And boy, that stops them dead in their tracks, right? You know, and the fact of the matter is, you know, openness, transparency, flexibility, visibility, collaboration, you can see all that when you're in the room. If I wasn't tethered here, because I'm actually hooked to an actual physical connection, I carry this around. I mean, you can kind of see people walking back and forth, but you're not actually seeing the best part of Menlo. I'm trying to see how long my tether is here. I might actually be able to. I'm going to run an experiment here, guys. It might be dangerous, so hang on tight.
Please.
I think I can walk you out into the room just a little bit, just to see if I can peek around the corner so you can actually see Menlo. We'll see how far I can get on my tether here. I feel like a spacewalker or something like that, you know, which I guess I am. Let's see. Yeah, this is about as far as I can get. What I could try, which might be even more dangerous, I could try and go. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna see Menlo there. Yeah, we can see. Okay, yeah, but you can kind of get a sense of it. You're not seeing the people is the problem I'm having.
I see. It looks like lots of tables, and then
yeah. So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on here, but just around that corner there is the problem. But the idea is that you know, build your values into everything you do, right? Our physical space expresses our value. Our processes express our value. The way we interact with our customers expresses our value. The way we interview expresses our values. Everything we do is focused on making sure there is alignment across every boundary here.
Right.
And,
I love that. One of the things I learned when I came into Nearsoft at first kind of bothered me. Here, this office is actually 3 floors, and there's only the water cooler is only located in one spot.
Nice.
And that's the first floor kitchen. And I'm sure you know why that is.
I do.
But to me, when I first got here, I was like, oh my God, like I have to go downstairs already to get water. But it's purposeful because it causes you to run into people who you might not usually run into, to pause and have conversations and really get that family feel. And so I think I can't stress the importance of even the smallest things. You can analyze and think of how can we do this better? How can we make the simplest thing like water influence our culture?
Well, I'll tell you a secret. I wanted only one bathroom for a second. I lost that one.
I like it. So everybody's lined up, Matt, and they're waiting and dancing around and holding their legs together, but at least they're building a relationship. I love it.
I could honestly say I'm glad Matt didn't win on that one.
Yeah, especially when you think about the relationship between the water cooler and the bathroom.
Exactly. Something you mentioned, which I find really interesting. I'm sorry, Carlos, you could go ahead, but I would love for us to talk about the idea of your pair programming and what that looks like, because I think that's unique and at least unique in the long-term sense to do it always, every day, all day, not for like a sprint or a hackathon or something. But that's interesting to me, and I'd like to know more about that.
Yeah, so you know, it's 2 people, 1 computer, and so what do you think? I'm both wired in and on Wi-Fi at the same time. You technologists out there, do you think I could sever my wired connection and just rely on Wi-Fi? And
find out.
Let's have an experiment.
Should we run the experiment? Because then I could go show you exactly what this looks like. So, all right, so I'm going to unplug. And if I get disconnected, I'll just put it back together and reconnect to the Hangout. So here we go. 1, 2.
Yep.
Oh no! Uh-oh. Darn.
5 anymore. Oh wait, maybe
we can hear you.
I'm back. Yay! It worked. Awesome. Okay, I'm now untethered. We can go look at Menlo. All right.
I was wondering.
Yeah, it worked.
That's amazing. Okay, so let's we'll just walk out here. You know, it's getting kind of late, so some people are heading home. But so I'm going to just turn this around here.
All right.
Here's David and Scott.
Hi guys.
Okay. Now pretend you're working, guys. So you know.
Program.
That's right. Yeah, pretend you're pair programming. These are Menlo programmers in their native environment. Right? We don't want to disturb them because they're working through a problem together. But this is what it looks like. Scott and David are paired together, sharing a keyboard and a mouse all day long. They just happen to be sitting across from Nick and Vienna, who are also working here, and yep, they're noticing. And here's George and Nicole here. You know, there. So now the other thing is, I'm going to get a little bit further away here because I want you to see how close they all are together. And know one thing about our culture here is that the team is in charge of forming the space. So the team decides where these tables go and how close they are together. So the team pushes the table side to side, front to front. They literally want to be this close together. And this is literally the happy team. Now, I don't mean that from a joy perspective. The code name of their project is Happy. And so this is, everybody's working on the Happy project is here. We don't always call it the Happy. We don't always use words like that for our project. So that's kind of fun. I'll show you a different team here. Now the team's kind of clearing out now, but some of them are still here. So here is the Veyron Project, and they're over here working together in their pairs and that sort of thing. Yeah, look at that. See? So these guys are all in Mexico and San Jose and that sort of thing. So anyways, yeah, so here's the various teams we're working on. And you know, I'll just do a little bit of a spin around Menlo here.
I'm motion sick, so.
Uh-oh.
I'm kidding.
So anyways, it's starting to shut down. Lights are starting to be turned off and that sort of thing. But that at least gives you a sense of the physical space.
So is there any type of like rotation, or how do you determine who you're pairing with?
Yeah.
Or?
So the pairs are assigned, and we switch them every 5 working days. So David and Scott are paired together this week. They won't be paired together again next week.
But is that within like a certain project or within certain skill sets, or how does that work?
Well, the skill set's less so because we expect everybody to be ready to jump into any technology or domain. But it's a very thoughtful process as to who pairs with whom every week. Generally speaking, those people you saw in the Happy project or those people you saw in the Veyron project will also be on that project next week. So we tend to keep the teams together longer. But of course, somebody goes on vacation, so we have to backfill that person who went on vacation. Some client wants to go faster, so we have to add more people to that project. Some client wants to go slower, so we have to cycle some people off. So every week, we're resizing the team to fit exactly what the needs are for all of our simultaneous customers together. And so there's always systematic movement over time of people between projects, between technologies, between domains. And it keeps them live, it keeps them active, it keeps their brains learning new things all the time. But in the pairs, we think very hard about who can lead this pair, who has knowledge about this project.
You wrote a program for this.
No, we actually have people making all these decisions. Yeah. It's all run by an Excel spreadsheet.
Nice.
Hey, Rich, I'm sorry, Kim. I was just going to say something real quick. You definitely honor your label of storyteller. I mean, you're a great storyteller. I can tell that. So there's not much to prove around that. I mean, you are a great storyteller. So, but here's the other thing is that today's topic is about joy, and I understand that ideally the scenarios that you describe should be like uphill all the time, and everything should be progressive and positive and just building upon day in and day out. However, it's not perfect all of the time, and I understand that there could be an occasional slide from joy to fear, as you mentioned it, right? So if that's the case, I mean, I would be personally interested in learning more about What happened when you went from joy to fear, and how you regained joy after experiencing fear?
Sure.
I mean, I'm sure that your contribution would mean a lot to
Yep.
to everyone who's listening out there.
So I'll talk about my personal journey, and then I'll talk about some Menlo stories in that regard. Because let me assure you, we had an imperfection once, Carlos. It happened 5 years ago. We were imperfect. Everything else has been perfect ever since. Okay, we've only had one perfection in our 15 years. No, we are there. We are not. We are very passionate about what we do. We're not perfect by any means. We have all the same challenges any company has. All the ones, you name one of your challenges, I'll match you one for one, every one of them. I think what we have here though is a culture that when those challenges come up, by and large, and we're not perfect at this either, we will deal with them sooner than most companies do, and we don't let them linger and become embedded in the culture at that point. Again, even then, I won't say we're perfect in it, but I think we're better than most. Maybe 90% better than most, but there's still that 10% of us that we're just humans. We're regular people. We're all salty bags of hormones who walk into work every day and carrying in problems from home and things that went wrong, with our car, our family, or anything like that. We're all just regular people here. And that's important to understand. But just like a family, we have to work through those things, and by and large, we do. So my personal slide from joy to fear and back again was really, that story I described earlier, where I was so excited about the profession, hit my trough of disillusionment, started digging my way out through books, and then began running some really serious experiments that panned out. And that was 1999, and 17 years later, it's still going, which is really fun. But let me tell you about this year at Menlo. It was a very interesting year. I told you that 2015, best year we ever had, rang every business bell we could, biggest revenues we ever, big profit we ever had, more cash in the bank than we ever had, everything, beautiful. As soon as January hit of 2016, it's like the bus drove right off a cliff, and we were in free fall. We didn't know what the heck happened. We were like, well, did we suddenly lose our mojo or something? Why is nobody starting projects? There were projects that had ended, normal ending. We didn't have any upset clients that fired us or something like that. But it was just stuff came to an end, and the new stuff wasn't arriving fast enough. And quite frankly, the team was scared. I was a little scared. Because we were facing this broad business reality, like we got a big team, they would pay them a lot, and all of a sudden there's no work coming in. Now, fortunately, we had a big bank account, but our first analysis was what's going on in the world? Is there fear going on? This looked to us a lot like 2008, 2009. Mm. We were seeing people delaying decisions. We were seeing companies saying, yeah, we're going to start a project, just not right now. And we're like, where's this coming from? Because it wasn't exactly like 2008, 2009, but it felt kind of the same. And we started sort of paying attention to what people were saying. We started hearing Brexit, China, oil, Trump, and there was all this uncertainty, and people were like, we got cash, we're hanging on to it, we're not spending it right now. And this big retraction happened. Well, we had to make a decision. What were we going to do as a company? And James and I looked at each other, my co-founder and I, and we said, you know what? This isn't going to last. The business will come roaring back. We got to be ready for that moment, because we remember 2011 when the economy started roaring ahead, and we were kind of caught flat-footed after a couple of years of slowdown. And so we told the team, we said, everybody stay where you are. We're going to keep paying you. We're going to find internal work to do. We're going to double down our investment in ourselves. We're going to start creating new processes. We're going to work through some things. We're going to really get serious about open book finance, which is something we've been doing for years, but this past year we've just honed it to a really fine-honed skill. which is an interesting year to do open book finance when the bank accounts are dropping like rocks and the revenue isn't there, and we lost money the first 7 months of the year, and a team kept asking the question, when are we going to go out of business? When are we going to go out of business? And we watched everything like a hawk, and now the last 5 months have been profitable. We just ran out of people in the sense that everybody's busy now. Everybody's on billing work. You know, happy days are here again. But I remember in the midst of this, one of our longtime project managers, hold on one second here, guys.
Sure.
And one of our longtime project managers here, Lisa, was standing across the table from me, and she said, Rich, where does your optimism come from? And I looked at her like, oh, that's an interesting question, because what she had witnessed was that I didn't seem to be afraid during this time, even though there was plenty to be afraid of. And I said, well, Lisa, I said, I've lived through this before. I know the business fundamentals are the same. We haven't lost our mojo as Menlo. You know, we're still getting a lot of sales inquiries. They'll come. They'll just come. We'll be okay. And that was a great comfort, I know, to her and to the rest of the team. And just yesterday, I told the team that we're doing something just a little unusual for us. We asked everybody, because we have this crazy thing where we're doing 40-hour work weeks every week for 15 years. We don't work overtime here. And I went to the team yesterday and I said, guys, until we can backfill all the work we're going to do, we're going to ask you, could you please, if you can, not a requirement, but we'd like to hear from you, can you work 44 hours a week? Which isn't incredibly onerous. We believe that tired programmers make bad software. We don't want to make bad software, so we don't want to have tired programmers. And so we don't work more than 40 hours of work a week, but going up to 44 is very unusual in our history. This is a story that's developing here at Menlo. And I just brought them together yesterday and said, guys, remember a year ago when we were panicking about no business? And we said, no, stay in place. We need you for when things turn up. I said, this is that moment. We needed you all here. You're all still here. We're ready. Let's go. And they got it. They understood that that's why we had done what we had done. But it was a scary year. There's no question about it. It was, what I want to say, though, is I think there's two kinds of fear in a workplace. Mm-hmm. That was a real fear. You know, it's the same kind of real fear we have when there's a storm outside, when we're walking out into traffic and we're looking both ways. Those are the fears that keep us alive. Mm-hmm. The fear, I think, that kills cultures is the artificial fear that management creates in order to motivate people.
Yes.
Could it be possible that our, I'm sorry, Matt, go ahead.
I just said that I quite agree. That's a real culture killer, if you will.
Yep. And I was taught that, Matt. You probably were too in your earliest career, right? Yep. Like, who were we taught that by? By the people who managed us.
Yep.
Right.
It worked for them. It should have worked for us, right?
Of course.
What are some of those artificial fears? Can you give?
Oh my gosh! Oh, I can slip into this so easily. Right. Imagine, Kimberly, you're at your desk, you're working away, and I'm your boss, and I walk up behind you and I say, "Hey, Kimberly, how's it going? What you working on? Are you almost done? Are you staying this weekend? Are you ahead? You behind? How's it going?" I mean, can you feel it? Can you feel your blood pressure rising just when I do that?
Yeah, because you're like, well, does he know something I don't know? What does he expect of me? Am I not doing my job right? Am I doing it well? Where's this going? Am I in trouble?
Why is he hanging over my shoulder? This is what I call management by walking around and annoying people.
I think we have all met those types at some point in our lives.
And I was that guy. I can tell you, I mean, this is an important part of the journey, Carlos, of what I realized was I had to change. If I was going to get out of my doldrums, I had to become a different kind of leader.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay, hold on one second. Just I need to step in real quick. We're about to wrap up. We're in the final minutes of today's broadcast. And if Rich, if you have any final words of wisdom for our audience regarding your today's topic, now's the time. And I'm sure that we would all like to hang around for a long time. but like I said, we still have a few short minutes. So, Rich, what would you like to leave our audience with today?
Well, before Rich says anything, I want to ask him one critical question.
Please go ahead.
So, Rich, what was the first programming language that you ever used?
Basic. Hewlett-Packard Basic on a 2000C time-sharing mini computer.
2000C. Okay, good.
How about you, Matt?
Oh God, I started with Fortran, and before that, it was some other RPG and things that.
Oh yeah, awesome. Yeah.
Fortran as in the punch cards.
Of course, Carlos. What else? That was when real men programmed. You know.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Kimberly. Did I really say?
I like that for a T-shirt. Real
was
men.
that my inside voice coming out?
Real devs use punch cards.
No, and I'm really glad you brought up this topic of tech stacks and things, because like it's something that I think we could have a whole nother talk on, because you had said something really important to me, and that was the idea of you expect everybody to be able to jump in on pretty much anything. And it's a very, very high expectation. And I'm just really curious, like, how's that done? Like, how do you do that? How do you motivate people? What's the training like? What's the education, the books? Like, what do you do as a company to keep your team at the, the front lines at their top? Like,
yeah. Well, one thing is the pairing facilitates this amazingly, because if there's one person on the team that knows Python, and we got a Python project going on, and let's say Kimberly, you've done Python before, and maybe I've never done Python, and so we pair it together. Now, this is a Python project, and we talked about it, and I don't know Python. So the first thing you do is you put the keyboard under my hands. You become the Sherpa along the way, but I'm the one typing. I'm the one making mistakes. You can be correcting me. I can be asking you questions. You'll let me make mistakes along the way. But by the end of the day, I actually know a lot of Python, because quite frankly, the languages aren't that different. I can tell you that you should be proud of me for what I'm about to describe, because I haven't actually coded for 25 years. But my middle daughter, who's now 30, just started her master's program at the University of Michigan, and she has a Python programming course. And one night, she's like, "Dad, I'm not getting this." And I said, "Okay, I don't know if I'll get it either, but let's sit in your apartment, let's pair program, let's work it out together." And by the end of the night, she looked at me, she says, "Wow, you're really good at this. I'm surprised you could figure this out with me," and I'm like, I am too, quite frankly.
You're like, basic that.
Yeah, exactly. But but the fact of the matter is, and I think this is a really important point, Kimberly, and I actually talk about it in the book. If we're presented with something we don't know, that produces a different kind of fear inside of us, and we get stuck, and we stay stuck. But what's interesting is if you put an equally fearful person next to us, in the story I use in the book is a 6-year-olds, a 6-year-old standing on the edge of a deep, dark forest on a cold November evening, and the branches are blowing back and forth. That 6-year-old will be petrified to walk through that forest by themselves. Put an equally frightened 6-year-old right next to them, holding their hand,
and you have an adventure.
And they walk off into the forest with great confidence, even though both of them are equally afraid. And I think this is true of pairing. It's why I think pairing is so powerful. And so that's where it happens for us. We buy books like crazy, but the team is never afraid to jump into stuff because they always have somebody there with them.
I love that. And I think too, like, one might think that it seems like the least efficient way to go about doing things, and maybe in the first couple days or something, like, you have to get in the groove and you're learning, but ultimately you're making everybody stronger. And so I think the return on investment must be huge.
It is. It's incredible. And quite frankly, programming has never, ever been about how fast do we type, right? Ever. It's always about how fast do we solve problems in a really high quality way. Two people are always better at solving problems together than one person working alone.
I love that. Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, okay. Does anybody else? Matt, Kim, if there's nothing else, I guess we should wrap up today's session.
I wish they could. It's been a blast.
I think
so
we could
fun.
do this till midnight tonight.
Oh,
I think so
absolutely.
too,
Absolutely. Okay. Well, Rich, the only thing for me left for me to do is just simply thank you so much for having been here with us today. And I look forward to being in touch. And as far as I'm concerned, this is the end.
Well,
Okay, well,
okay, hold on one second. I
You wanna-
got to do my version of this.
oh, please, please.
So,
Yay.
can you see it?
All right.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Oh, yeah, there we
It's
go.
our pleasure.
Yeah.
It was a great talk, Rich. So we'll look forward to being in touch with you. And again, thank you so much for everything.
Thanks for having
And
me.
you have a great rest of the day. Matt,
Matt.
Kim, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Kimberly,
Bye-bye.
great to meet you. Carlos, great to meet you. Matt,
Likewise. Had a
Likewise.
blast.
we'll see you again.
Great.
Take care,
Absolutely.
guys.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.